it's Lisa from My Dream in Soap. Welcome to my channel and thanks for dropping by. Time for another wintry soap now. So what these weird looking things are in front of me is I've got a couple of embed moulds that I sell in the shop. Now these are just a standard length. They're typically sort of made to make a nice 12-inch embed that would fit in the most common size soap moulds. I'm using a longer mould with mine, so I'm going to use 2 embeds. But what I also make for all of my embed moulds is these mould blocks. And what you use those for is, let's say for example if you had a mould and it was too long, or sorry, an embed mould, and it was too long for your mould. Rather than making a big old embed and always having to chop a bit off, what you do is you get your mould block and you pop it in at whatever point you want your actual embed to be, and therefore you can then make the embed to that length. Okay? So yeah, it's one of the things, as I said, I do with all of the embed moulds that I do. I've made these just so they fit snugly in the end of my little cottage moulds there. And I've done it like this, I've done them the same, just so that when I pour each cottage, I can just pour them the same, rather than doing, because you might think, well, why don't you just shorten one and do one long one and one short one? Just for the maths, it's just easier to keep them the same. Right, so those are my little embed moulds set up. I want my cottage to have a nice snowy roof. So what I'm going to do first of all is fill the first bit up with snow. Now these cottages are actually upside down in here, so it's the roof on the bottom and then they go up to the actual house bit at the top, so they're made upside down in the mould. So here are my oils that I need for my roof section of my mould, and my sodium lactate and lye solution. So let's just get these blended together. And the fragrance I'm using in this soap is Comfort and Joy from Nurture Soap. Nice sort of wintry fragrance. So now I just need to get this poured into the mould. Now I am going to scrape the shape of the roof out, because like a cottage, I'm going to have it sort of like a thatched cottage. Although it's going to be a snowy roof, it's going to be as a thatched cottage would look like. So where the windows are sort of sunk up into the roof line. So I'm just going to leave that to set up a little while, and then I'll come back with my little scraper, which is in the kit that you get with this whole mould set, to come in and scrape those window bits out. My little cottages are all set up now, so I'm just going to give them a scrape just to, can you see how this scraper comes with the set, and what it's going to do is, the roof's been poured into the mould, and this is just going to take out some little indents to put some windows into. Okay, so they're all scraped out, and what I've got now, I've already prepared them, just so I didn't have to do all the extruding on screen, is I've made some little windows, and again these come with the set, so it's just basically extruding 4 little squares of yellow soap dough and then a little black cross. Alternatively, you could just extrude just a square on its own without the little window frame in it, or just slice up some soap to put in as windows. So there's those, and also then just this little sort of rectangular bit is just going to be a little red front door. So I'm going to get those, and I'm going to put one of the windows in each of these holes first, and then we're going to pour in the rest of the soap. Okay, so there's my first layer of the windows in. I'm going to pour in soap in the base colour that I want my cottage. And then as I do that, I'm going to drop in the other windows and the door.
Whoa, oh, oh. La, da, 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 oh, oh, oh. La, da, 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 oh, oh. La, da, da, da. Making our Christmas memories. I've been working so much lately, I can barely find the time to sleep. Yeah, I spend my time running around, keeping people pleased. But this is my favorite holiday. It's a chance to start over new. 'Cause I missed you, so I'm letting go of everything but you. These are the good times with you. Baby, this year it's just gonna be you and me. Hang by the fire and chill. Isn't this how it's supposed to be? Making our Christmas memories. Oh, and I've been longing to hold you close. Forget about everyone else. Isn't this how it's supposed to be? Making our Christmas memories. Oh, oh.
Here are our little embeds the next day. So let's get them unmoulded, shall we? So there's those little mould blocks I've got in there so that I get them the right length. And remember we said I deliberately made that a rough surface. Although it's the base of the cottage, I wanted it to be quite rough because I want it to look like the cottage is sitting in the snow. And so there would be some snow maybe coming up the sides of the cottage. Okay, so they mould nicely. Now we can't see the windows or anything through that yet, but when that gets cut, then we will be able to. Before we start putting everything together, I'm just going to do a couple of little extra bits of prep. The other thing I've got here, I didn't make this on screen. I'm sure I've said in other videos, I spent a whole day sort of from 6 o'clock in the morning to like 7 o'clock at night extruding things for my Christmas soaps, and I didn't record them, but you've seen lots of extruding before. But here we've got a little Christmas tree, and how I made this Christmas tree is I took some green soap dough, and that's Emerald Lagoon, and some titanium dioxide soap dough, and I kneaded them, and then I squished them together and then extruded those two bits together to give like the snow cap on that tree. And what I want to do with these is, because I'm doing snowy items in a snowy scene, I'm just going to do some activated charcoal just so that these white bits do actually show up. Because otherwise, if you put white against white, it is quite likely that you may not get to see it very well. Okay, and I've just got some activated charcoal in a little bit of distilled water here. Now the top of my cottage is actually going to be against a line of trees, so that will actually be against some green, but I thought it just might look funny with the black up the side and not on the top. Right, just move those over. And then same thing for these little trees here, just the white bit I'm just going to touch with some activated charcoal. So again, this is going to be pretty well buried in my snowy layer, so just so we get to make sure we get to see the white. Let's get our first layer made up. So what I've got here is the oils that I need for that layer melted, and I've just added some titanium dioxide to that because obviously snow need it white. This is my lye solution and my sodium lactate. Okay, so I'm happy with that. What I'm just going to do is pour a little bit of this off, just because I want to get some in the mould first to help get the cottage seated. Okay, so I guess that's probably about a third of it. And I am going to warm this. Okay, so that's at sort of, if you see there, 118 degrees Fahrenheit, so warmer than my normal sort of 80 to 90. And that'll just help this bit to set up a little bit quicker, so it will give some support to the cottage. Now I do want the cottage sort of almost on the bottom of the soap, but I do just want a little bit of snow underneath it. Okay, so I know I've sort of pushed that over to one side, no real reason apart from I just want a little base for the cottage, and as I squish the cottage down that'll help that flow out a little bit, and then I'll fill the rest in with the remainder of the white soap. So I'm just going to leave that for just a couple of minutes. I don't want it to get too firm, but I do want it to have some support for the cottage. Right, we're set up enough with this little cottage for the cottage to go in now. So let's just grab that.
Snow is falling down. I've been longing for this Christmas.
Pop that in. Get a nice squish down.
To share this holiday. Yes, it's a time of happiness, a time of joy. But now this year is twice as special, 'cause I'm hoping for us to fall in love in this winter wonderland.
Right, let's get the rest of that white soap in. So, add the fragrance oil to it.
I might be crazy, but I think you feel it too. Like a vibration right between us with a beautiful tune. Could we fall in love in this winter wonderland?
Okay, and then I want the rest on the other side where I'm going to put this tree.
Cold night, but I'm warm inside. Already said a little prayer that you will stick around. Is this year I'm really hoping for a kiss under the mistletoe? As hours pass by, all the stars shine much brighter. Or is it just your eyes that have lit something in me? See you coming closer from across the room. My heart is
Okay, so I'm now just going to move this around to where I actually want this. I might need to leave it to set a little bit more. Okay, yeah, I'm just going to leave that to set up a little bit more so that I can then shape that into the shape that I want for my sort of snowy hill bit. Right, I've got all that set up and I've just tidied up around, can you see I've just tidied up around that little tree line, and I've just cleaned off the side of my mould there. And now I've just mixed up some green. It looks a bit yucky at the moment, as greens tend to. This is Emerald Lagoon from Pure Rock Colours. It's a nice, what I always think of as like a true grass green, tree green, that sort of darker green. Let's get our fragrance oil in there. So this is going to be sort of like a tree line behind our cottage.
I've been longing for this Christmas, when everyone's around to share this holiday. Yes, it's a time of happiness, a time of joy, but now this year is twice as special.
I'm going to be scraping that tree line, so it's quite wibbly wobbly at the moment. I'm going to leave that, not surprisingly, to set up a little bit, and then we'll come back and scrape it. I think we're set up enough to do a scrape. So I've just made a little just sort of tree line shaped scraper. So let's just give this a little scrape.
Happiness, a time of joy, but now this year is twice as special, 'cause I'm hoping for that we'll fall in love in this winterland. Could we fall in love in this winterland? Wanna fall in love in this winter wonderland.
Okay, so I'm happy with that. I spent a little bit of time fiddling around trying to get as much of the soap back in there as possible, and I think that's going to be just fine. So again, I'm just going to clean off these sides a little bit, and then we just got to finish off with the final bit of the sky. For my final layer for the top, I've mixed up my normal standard blue that I use for skies, and that's half of my colourant is shimmer blue from Mica Mama and half of it is titanium dioxide, so 50-50 mix of that. So I've just got that blended together in my soap, and because I want it to look like it's snowing, I've got some white shred here. I didn't bother grating this on camera. Essentially I just made up a whole block of white soap, like basically a whole loaf of it, because I've got a lot of soaps that I want snow for, and I've just shredded it all up, and I'm just using bits as I need throughout my soaps. Okay, so let's get that in here. Now I don't want this shred to be quite as big as this, so I always like to shred it quite big and then I blend it in. Okay, I think that's enough. And I don't want this to thicken too much because I need it to get in between all those little gaps in the trees. And I might get some bits of shred that land on top of a tree and do a little block, and maybe I might get a few holes in that tree line, but I can fill those afterwards. But hopefully I won't. Let's get that fragrance oil in. Okay, and then I just want to get it poured. I'm just aiming at sort of like the smallest areas first, where they've got tiny bits to fill. Okay, and then I'll just flood the rest in. Before I scrape, I'm going to get a tap, so hopefully some of the fluid stuff will just drop down into those trees. Yeah, can you see the air bubble coming up? So hopefully that will do that, and then let's get this in here. Okay, let's get that tapped down again. There we go. Now I'm going to add some decorations to the top, so I'm just going to whip up a little bit of white soap. I'll just be back when I've done that. Let's finish off the top then, shall we? So remember that Christmas tree that I put inside? These are some extra bits of the embed that I then just sliced up into thin slices, and I'm just going to pop those on the top. So as I said, I just made up a little bit of just plain white soap. Let's get this on the top.
Baby, this here is just gonna be you and me. Hang by the fire and chill. Isn't this how it's supposed to be? Making our Christmas memories. Oh, and I've been longing to hold you close. Forget about everyone else. Isn't this how?
And then I'm just going to go through and pop these little Christmas trees on.
Memories. Oh, oh. La, 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 la. Oh, oh, oh. Oh, la, da, da, da. Making our Christmas memories. Yes, these are the good times with you. Don't even care what we do if I spend it with you.
There we go with that. I just had 3 little bits left that didn't fit on, so I thought, well, let's just pop those on there. So there's our top. Shall I do little snow bits? I've got a tiny bit of that white left. Ooh, I don't know. Shall we look? Let's have a look. Could do, couldn't I?
Christmas memories. Yeah, I've been longing to hold you close. Forget about everyone else. Isn't this how it's supposed to be? Making our Christmas memories.
There we go, there's our top finish. With some little, well, quite big snowflakes going over the trees, but jumbo snowflakes in this little land. I'm really pleased with that, that's quite cute. And it was a good way of using up that extra bit of embed. So I'm going to put this away now and let that saponify, and then we'll cut it in a day or so and see what we've got inside. Here's our soap the next day, and I'm really pleased with that top. It's come out so pretty, hasn't it? So let's get that cut. Okay, and let's have a little look at what we've got. Okay, so there's our tops. Really cute, I really like those. Ah, look, and there's our inside, our little Christmas cottage with its background of the trees and that little Christmas tree next to it. That's come out really cute. And here to finish off is a final photo of the soap. I hope you've enjoyed this video and you like the soap. If you have, it would be great if you gave me a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see what I'm making in the future, why not subscribe to my channel? Thanks for watching everyone. Happy soaping!